I was working in the shop today and I've had a few emails, people asking me about hole punches. How many do they need? What sizes do they need? Do they need drive punches or squeeze punches? Would a rotary punch work? So I'm going to kind of go over kind of what I keep on my bench and kind of go from there. It really depends on what projects you're working on. So if you're building saddles, you may have some hole punches that somebody that just builds wallets or leggings or something like that, belts or something, they may not need a punch that big. So I'm just going to kind of go through there. As far as squeeze punches, this is what I would call a squeeze punch, right? These are, they're like pliers. They've got one tube in them. They've got a little copper anvil. You put it on your leather where you want to punch your hole, and you squeeze the punch down and it makes a hole in there. These are my favorite. They're really handy. You can use them, you know, for a long time. I've had these tubes. They call the hole punch part tubes, and you can buy these. So when they get wore out, you can buy new ones. I've had these tubes in all three of these hole punches here for years probably, and they work great. I only keep 3 on my bench. You can certainly get, if you want, you can have an entire collection of size, you know, double-aught all the way to, you know, size 86. It doesn't matter. I don't know how many sizes they actually have in a squeeze punch, but you can get all the sizes if you want. The only drawback to these is they are expensive. So when you go to buy these, you're going to spend, I haven't bought one in years. I've got another set just like this on the other bench. We bought them probably 15 years ago, so I don't know what they're running now. You'll just have to look it up. I want to say when I bought them, they were like $75 or $80. But they are handy and they are very useful, so I do recommend having some of these. I only keep 3 on my bench just because, like I said, they're expensive, and I have drive punches for other size stuff. So there's 3 sizes that I would recommend when it comes to squeeze punches. I would recommend a number 2, a number 5, and a number 8. The number 8 you may or may not need. Like I said, if you're more of building smaller personal item type stuff, you might not need one that big. But I would recommend still trying to get one at some point, because there are times when this comes in really handy. If you're trying to make a slot and you want to punch a hole and then another hole and then slice in between to make like an oblong, then a number 8's a great size for that. Number 8 will also work for stirrup leathers, for holes for like your Blevins buckles on your stirrup leather adjustments. It's a little bit tight, but it will work for if somebody comes into your shop or something, just needs a couple extra holes in stirrup leathers. You can make this work and then just kind of waller it out and make it a little bit bigger so the pin goes in easier with a big spike awl. But those are the 3 that I've kept on my bench for my entire career, and they work great. There's hardly any other time that I wish I had another size. Occasionally it comes up, but then like I said, I've got drive punches as well. If you're doing a lot of small work and a lot of strap good work, you might want to get a number 1 also, or maybe even something smaller than that. I think they make an aught or a double-aught, which is a small hole punch, and that's really good. I use this number 2 when I'm lacing leather loops. So when I take leather like this, say on a gunsling or making a belt loop or something, I'll fold the leather around, find out how long it needs to be, and then I'll punch 2 holes with that, and then I like to lace them up with with thread. But if you're using staples or something, that might not be useful. But I would say that would be a time when this hole punch could be a little bit smaller. But those are the 3 squeeze punches that I have, and that's what I use every day. And like I said, that's more than enough to get you going and to keep you going as far as tools. When it comes to drive punches, these are going to be the most bang for your buck as far as dollars go. This one here is a Weaver brand. They're okay. I'm not real impressed with them. They're not really finished out. This one in particular, I'd be real careful when you buy these from them. I don't know, maybe they've cleaned them up or something, but this one here, the hole is not machined out completely. So when you're punching holes through here, they actually hang up in there. So I've got to drive them out that way instead of having them come out of the hole up here. So when you drive with this punch, the hole actually rides up and then should fall out of this top hole. But like I said, it's not cleaned out in there. I've got to get somebody that does machining or something to clean that out. I've tried with a drill bit and it won't do it, but I need to get that cleaned out some more so that'll come out of there. But drive punches are great. They're a lot cheaper. This is a CS Osborne number 9 that I've had forever, and it works great. This hole punch here, new, is probably $10, maybe $15. They're much cheaper than the squeeze punches. So if you're on a limited budget or you're not trying to spend a ton of money, then I would put my money into drive punches. And these you just use with them all. This is an old number 10 that I bought years ago that somebody was using a metal hammer with, and it had mushroomed out the top. And but it works great for stirrup leathers. The number 10 drive punch is what I would recommend for stirrup leather holes. But like I said, you can get by with a number 9 or number 8 and just kind of waller the hole out just a little bit with a spike awl if you need to. The main advantage of a drive punch is that if you've got a squeeze punch and say you've got something here and you've got a hole you need to make for a rivet or for something like that, or a Chicago screw or a concho, and say it's in the middle of this piece of leather, obviously I can't get to it with a squeeze punch, so that limits its use. Okay, so when you get into the drive punches, I can put that anywhere I need to, so they're much more user friendly, give you a lot more opportunity to use them. These are what I would recommend, especially like I said, if you only got so much money to spend on tools, focus on the tools that you can use the most often and keep more of a specialty tool, which is, these are kind of leaning towards specialty. They're not needed, so you don't have to have them. Drive punches work just as well. When it comes to these, they're so much cheaper. I would still recommend, if you're only going to buy 3, I would still get a number 2, a number 5, and a number 8. The number 5 is great for rivets. If you're setting copper rivets or anything like that, Chicago screws, number 5 works for. Conchos, most of the time a number 5 is more than enough, and that's what I recommend there. Number 8 if you need to do a bigger hole like we talked about before, and then a number 2 for when you need to do just some real small holes for whatever you've got to do. But hole punches are really necessary, and so you need to start you a good collection. And I would, like I said, I'd put my money in collecting drive punches first, and then work your way up to the squeeze punches. Real quick on the rotary punches, those work and there's nothing wrong with them, but I would say if you're gonna get a rotary punch, the one that'll look like one of these, but it'll have a wheel with a bunch of different tubes, and you can turn it to the hole that you need. If those do work really well, but I would recommend getting a higher end one, like from CS Osborne, than the ones that you see at the feed store. The ones at the feed store, the handles and everything, they're made out of just some thin steel. And they're bent over. I mean, they're just kind of cheap, you know. They're not a solid steel handle like this. And I have seen those bend trying to punch a hole through, like say, a piece of 13, 15 ounce or something like that. Guys get to prying on them, and I have seen those bend. Mainly, you know, people buy those and put them in their horse trailer or whatever in case they need to punch a hole. But I would stay away from those for your shop. If you're just starting out and that's all you got, make it work. You've got to do what you got to do. But as you go along, if you really like the rotary punch idea, then I would step up and get one from CS Osborne. And I don't think they're all that much more expensive than the single hole punches here. I'm not really sure. Like I said, I don't know what these things are running these days, so you just have to research that. But the rotary punch, like I said, they're handy. You got a bunch of different hole sizes in one tool. Takes up one spot on your bench. But as most of us are as leather craftsmen, we're kind of tool hounds, and we like seeing a lot of pretty tools on our bench. So yeah, it'd be nice to have 10 or 15 squeeze punches, one of each size, hanging on your bench. So, but that's hole punches. You got to have some. You got to figure them out. Start with drive punches. Your money's better spent there. You can use them anywhere on any project, and then step up and start getting some squeeze punches as you can and make that work. But I appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you all in the next video.